To Nigerian market update, the Nigerian equities market is still trading sideways on lackluster demand for stocks, with the all-share index still now falling below 37,000 points and is currently down 0.35% in midday trade. Now, the laggards in early trade are WAPCO, Cadbury, Okomo Oil and Sterling Bank, while the gainers on the session are Red Star Express, Stanbic IBTC, Just Brewery, Fidelity Bank and UBA Capital. Now, I'm not being joined by Lai Olalero, he's head of equity trading at Quadros Capital. Thank you so much, Lai, for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, let's take a look at the numbers. Of course, we're still looking at the market trading sideways. The all-share index now trading below 37,000 points. Now, in the last couple of days, I've been talking to other analysts about the fact that the market is perhaps wary and fatigued from waiting for the second quarter earnings, particularly from tier 1 banks. But now we have Zenith Bank's earnings coming into the market, but that doesn't seem to have shaken things up a bit. Just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. My thoughts are basically that what we're seeing currently now is not only the issue of fundamentals or good results. As we all know, there are three key things that drive the markets in a positive direction. I mean, the first one of it is positive sentiment. The second one is good fundamentals, and the final one is liquidity. One factor is missing, and that's the liquidity. So even as we're seeing good results coming out from each of those top tier banks, like you rightly said, mentioned earlier, that Zenith Bank result was quite impressive compared to what they did last year, but we've not seen this reflecting on the prices of these stocks. So the key elements which the market needs to drive itself back to relevance, the liquidity, seems to have been missing due to the recent policy of the CBN that tends to bring a squeeze into the system. And as a matter of fact, about 1.2 trillion has been removed from circulation in the banking system. And of course, that will have a lot of impact on the trading in equities that we'll be seeing.
Now let me just quickly run through the numbers from Zenith Bank. Revenue coming in at 171 billion naira. That's an increase of 13%, while the profit after tax came in at 45 billion naira, up 7%. Now, looking at these numbers for a bank like Zenith Bank, do you think the market will embrace these numbers?
Yeah, basically, it's a growth, because you rightly mentioned that a 7% increase. Whichever way anybody will look at it, is still a positive signal coming from the bank. And also, early in the year, if you see most of the analysts' prediction, they were not actually predicting that most of these banks will give this good kind of earnings due to the fact that they took a hit on the ATM transaction fees and also on the COT, commission on turnover, which basically are source of income for the banks. But the banks are still able to pull their weight. The results are coming in good, but basically beyond the fundamentals, the liquidity is still taking a toll on the bank. And not just only Zenith Bank, we can see the effect on a First Bank, UBA, and some of the top tier banks that we've seen the results coming out recently. So I think it's not just only about the fundamentals, it's about liquidity as well.
Okay, let's talk broadly about your top 5 stock picks for this session for you. Would that be more from the banking stocks or perhaps the consumer goods sector? But let me not preempt you. What would be your top 5 stock picks?
Yeah, my stock picks will still be a very good mix of both the banking and the consumer goods. As you know, most of the drivers in the market actually start from the banking stocks. I mean, a lot of the top tier banks have been on the price as it is right now. And if you look at the First Bank, for example, trading around 16 naira, I think for people who have a long-term horizon, a long-term perspective, they will definitely want to put their money in a First Bank. And I also want us to pay attention to some of the fast-moving consumer goods. For example, those in the agricultural sector as well. Okomo, in Nestle, coming down to 930 as at the close of yesterday, still looks very good and promising. And I also, as a final pick, still put my bet on a GTB, because from what I'm seeing, after a couple of days, if the CBN sees the policy as being stringent, they might want to come out to really relax it. And relaxing the policy is a positive signal to the market. So we should all watch out that the CBN that we have is not rigid. They might still backpedal on the policy that is currently in the run.